How's your last few days been
Yeah,
for the half marathon?
been well, just resting and chilling, not running 100+ miles a week is kind of nice sometimes, So the legs are today is 4 days after the half marathon. So today's the first day where the legs don't feel like they're totally dead. So that's nice.
Yeah,
That's a win in itself. I guess trying to walk up the stairs the day after a half is pretty interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. The delayed onset muscle soreness hit me about 36 hours after the race, which is pretty typical. But it's not nearly as bad as compared to a marathon. So I'm already feeling a little bit better, and I expect by Saturday I'll feel pretty good. So overall, not too bad. And it was flat as a pancake. Like the course there was no hills at all. So that made a big difference as well.
It seems like you have to do quite a lot of that leading. Sorry, Rory. Sorry.
No, you're good, Alfie. Go for it.
I was just going to say, on the video, it seemed like you have to do quite a lot of the leading. How was that in sort of that race? Because normally, hopefully, if you enter an elite race, maybe that 64, 65 mark, there's a few guys like in a massive group, and obviously it was a bit different. So how was that like dynamic, having to like lead and take the pace on?
Yeah, I know. I knew the pace that I wanted to run, and as I mentioned in the all the videos, this is my first road half marathon in a decade. So, for those that don't know the channel, like I'm more of a mountain runner that's trying to run fast on the roads. So this is a little bit of new territory for me, and I never want to be a racer that just kind of sits on everybody and just lets them do all the work. So at, about mile 1.5, 2 miles, I decided to, help with the pacing up front. And so I led from, maybe mile 2 to mile 4, roughly, maybe, 4.5. And then it was pretty amazing though, because as you saw in the video, there's like 5 or 6 guys, and we all pretty much shared the pace throughout the race until the very end when a couple of them took off. But it's so crazy. Like it's different racing on the roads versus mountain and trail racing, which I'm more used to. But it's a lot of fun, as you guys probably know. Like when you pack up with a bunch of guys that are basically at the same pacing, you help pull each other down the road, faster and faster compared to if you were often like if you weren't in the group that I was in, you were in complete no man's land. So even like first place, Parker, he was way out front by about a minute. And so he was in no man's land the whole race.
Jeez, that's a long way by yourself. And yeah, I guess going from sort of like trail and sort of mountains to the road, it's a different kind of solitude being out there for a long time, I guess, just a different kind of pain. I can imagine sort of that. I've never done like a trail or mountain race, but there's quite a good sort of atmosphere around that world in the UK. It seems to be like it's growing more and more, and especially in the US. Yeah. I mean, there's sort of like the trail, the mountains, and even the ultra. I mean, the Project Carbon X2 is happening this weekend as well, with the 100K, well, hopefully 100K world record. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's on topic being in and around that time, but I'm not sure if you've run in the Carbon X2 that much, and sort of how you're feeling with it, and how well suited you think it is for 100K.
Yeah, I actually think it's pretty well suited. I think it's a little bit, the midsoles, because it's EVA based, is a little firmer compared to, let's say, the Zoom X. And even like the fuel cell from RC Elite from New Balance is a very soft midsole. So I think for something a little bit longer where you don't want to squish down into the road quite as much. So I think the Carbon X2 is it's going to be fun to watch, and I suspect that we're going to see some new world records for sure. But I'm excited to watch it go down. And Jim is, he's fast is the bottom line. So he's tough. But yeah, no, the Carbon X2 it's a good shoe. It's not my top shoe, let's say, for definitely not for a half marathon. It's a little heavier. But yeah, it's a solid shoe.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's been interesting to run in and sort of try and figure out how it fits into the rotation and all that sort of fun stuff. But but no, it's been nice, and it's obviously quite a big topic at the moment that shoes are just kind of one of those things. I mean, did you run in the next percent for your half marathon?
I did, and I've been talking a lot about the why I didn't do the Alpha Fly, which two of the guys in my lead pack, or in the pack that I was in, two of the guys had the Alpha Fly, and then I think the other four guys had the next percent. So
Interesting.
I think at this point, based on watching all the other elites, a lot of them, like, I think the AirPods under the forefoot in the Alpha Fly changed my foot strike just a little too much, and
Okay.
it's almost like a little too much bounce for me. So that's why I opted. I mean, it's a fast shoe, there's no doubt. But I prefer the ride of the next percent. It's a little more simplified, where you don't have to kind of overthink your foot strike quite as much. So I can't wait to see what happens in Tokyo, just to see what all the elites choose to race in.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I know, Alfie, you're quite a big fan of the Saucony Endorphin Pro, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm hoping for a new rendition of that though as well, because I feel like the endorphin range, all the endorphin range last year was phenomenal. So I feel like it needs an update to sort of get it to that level, because I think the Pro is probably not quite there in comparison to the next percent, but the speed I'd say is better than every other Nike training shoe there is. So yeah, it's exciting to see. Hopefully Saucony can pull it out of the bag and bring a good shoe into 2021. I know you think very highly of the speed as well, Seth.
Love it. It's the go-to, man. It was my favorite shoe from 2020, and the Pro, I completely agree with what you just said. Like, it's so close, but I did a 10K time trial in it before the half marathon, and it just didn't quite have the I don't know. It just wasn't quite there yet, even from the upper and the lockdown on the upper. So I'm excited as well for the next iteration of the Pro, which hopefully they launch, sooner rather than later. We'll see.
Yeah. I've seen a few leaked images, but you never know what to believe, do you? Really, of what's coming out. It'd be great to see if the speed has that little back bit gone, just like the little plastic bit around the heel. I'd love if that went, and then to me that would be a perfect shoe. Yeah. So hopefully that can happen. We've got a few follower questions here, if that's okay to ask you.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's a very, very big running YouTuber. A lot of our followers will also follow your YouTube, and it sort of depends from where they started following your YouTube. Is maybe some of these questions, maybe they're being answered in all the videos, etc. But we just wanted to see what the most common questions were. And the first one is, what's the shoe behind the Hoka shoe in the glass box in the studio?
It's awesome. So, I mean, it's a great question, and I'll try and keep it concise. It's nothing crazy, but basically, we all are working hard, trying to make money, trying to, in my case, raise a family. And so about 3 or 4 years ago, our finances were tight. Like, as a family, like I couldn't afford new running shoes is what it comes down to. Like, we were that, I've got a house, and so I've got a mortgage to pay. And so, so that shoe on the back wall is a shoe. It's the Hoka Clayton, not the Clifton, but the Clayton, the old shoe that I actually bought off of at that point, Facebook Marketplace for like $30. It was used because that's all we could afford at the time. So I keep that shoe in that little glass box as a reminder, like, geez, look now, like now I have, endless amount of running shoes. It's just like a little reminder, like, keep working hard in your business, in running, in so many different areas of life. And you can achieve a lot of great things if you're persistent and you don't give up. And so that shoe is a used running shoe that I bought when finances were tight. So that's the story behind that.
No,
That's a
that's
very good
absolutely
story
great.
to have behind the shoe. And that says a lot about, I think, like just the running community. In that is kind of, it's one of those things like whatever's sort of going on in life, etc. Running's a constant. Running's always there, and I'm happy it was a Clayton as well, because that is a great shoe.
Yes, indeed.
The Clayton was a great shoe. Discontinued, I believe.
I know.
Well, but it's been changed.
Yeah.
I think it's been changed. They all got reworded, didn't they? It was the same with the Elevon, which is now, or was it? Is it the Elevon now? I've completely forgotten what they changed the Easy Run shoe to. But yeah.
Yeah. No, they don't make the Clayton line anymore. I think it inspired a little bit the Mach line, but anyway. So
very good shoe. Mach 4. Have you used that yet? You've used it, Seth, haven't you? It's a good shoe.
I think it's going to be the shoe of the year. I'm calling it now. Like, it's just, it doesn't have a plate or anything, or a nylon plate or anything like that, but it's somehow the fit over the top of your foot. Like, I keep wearing it because it's so comfortable and it fits so well. And we'll see if I haven't used it like for a threshold day or but I bet it could be used for some people for like even track workouts, to a certain, like people that don't want to go crazy fast, but they just want something that they can jog to the track with and then do a track workout and jog back. It's I don't know. I've loved it. Not many people have I don't think too many people have worn it yet, but I think it's coming out in March, I do believe.
Have you worn it yet, Rory?
I've actually not worn it
Hoka
yet.
Athlete. Have you got it?
Yeah. No, I've not worn it, and I haven't been sent it yet. So I'll be interested to see what it's about. I've heard a lot of good things. I'm still getting through the kind of the Rincon 2 and the Carbon X2 in my rotation at the moment, which are all really, really good shoes. And actually talking about, because with the world sort of this year and sort of part of last year going crazy running shoe wise, especially in the road racing circuit, I was kind of wondering where you think Hoka sort of fit into that with the shoes that they've released, whether it be the Carbon X or the Rocket X, and how those sort of fit into the super shoes. And I think a lot of companies have released, super shoes, and it's tough to say with Nike and Adidas and maybe the Endorphin Pro, who potentially are further along than a lot of other companies, sort of where some companies like Hoka or some of those other companies are fitting into the super shoe world at the moment, or if they're nearly there, if they're getting there, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think, the technology of the ZoomX midsole material is hard to argue against. Yeah, I think it still has a lot of good energy return, a lot of good bounce to it, a lot of good, but I think Hoka's doing great with respect to their uppers, and like the fit, like the Mach 4 when it comes out, like I think they are continuing to dial in the upper fit really, really well. But I just I don't think they're quite there yet with respect to, even, I know it's small and some people think I maybe look into it too much, but I think, the weight of a racing shoe, I do love a lightweight racing shoe. There's just no way to deny it. And so if you look at the sliding scale of all the shoe companies, I think Hoka just has a little ways to go in that department as far as just dropping the weight a little bit. And so that's where I'm at with Hoka. I think, obviously what we have witnessed in the last 18 months with all these companies releasing the shoes. So that's where the Olympic delay by 1 year is going to be crazy to watch, to see in the next 5 months what we see between now and Tokyo. Hopefully it's going to happen. What's just going to happen with all these shoe companies, because they basically got 1 extra year to develop, the next round of shoes. Yeah. So.
And everyone's trying to get those spikes in and out to companies so that they can be sold before the Olympics.
Exactly.
Which is, I was talking to the rep at Hoka in the UK, and he was kind of just saying, like, we're just trying to get these spikes ready to go and out and done, and getting them sold by like April, because they need to be out there so that Hoka athletes can be wearing them at the Olympics.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, all the rule changes from World Athletics, and it's been wild to watch.
I think people have just copied the Dragonfly though, because I feel like there wasn't any patents on it. So people just straight up carbon copied the Dragonfly just to bash out in time for the Olympics, which is fair enough because it's a great spike. I'm not sure how much track running you do, Seth. Not that much, I can imagine.
Not too much, but I haven't tried the Dragonfly yet. I know it's on my, a lot of people want me to try it. I'd be willing to. I just haven't had a chance to get my hands on a pair.
Yeah, it's pretty rare as well. They seem to sell out quite quickly, which is a shame, but I guess that's what makes it even more special.
I always say, so many shoes, so little time.
Yeah.
So many shoes to test.
That does go into the next question, Alfie. I think you're probably looking at the same question.
You can ask it because I don't want to get confused here now because we've got many questions. So
I want to call the same question there. I guess that goes into someone has asked how many shoes now, if you could even put a ballpark figure, how many shoes do you own are in that studio kind of that it must be a tough figure to sort of pull out,
as well as the lockup as well.
I had to buy I had to get a storage unit because I don't have enough room. And actually somebody that watches the channel, he volunteered. He's going to build me shelving units to keep all the shoes organized. And some people think I'm a little crazy for keeping all the old shoes, but I'm not. Why I keep them is that in 3 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about shoes that we can't even dream about right now. And I'm going to be able to compare the shoes in 5 years from now to, the Hoka Mach 9 to the Hoka Mach 4. So that's why I keep all of these old shoes in order to compare the iterations. And even just, I have the 4%, I've got the next percent, the Alpha Fly, and whatever comes next, just to show the growth of all these channels. But it's probably, I don't know, 250 pairs. It's probably somewhere around there. I think in 2020, I reviewed about 60 pairs of shoes. So, so it was a lot.
Wow.
But I do road and trail. So I do, keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, true. Actually, there was quite a strange principle. A carbon shoe for trail. Where do you stand on that? Because I mean, in my mind, I used to do like trail running at home for my easy runs because everything was just all off road and really traily. But like trying to imagine sort of the way that your foot molds around rocks or whatever that might be, just kind of wondering how the carbon plate sort of fits into a shoe, whether it's more carbon infused or.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the benefit is going to be much less than compared to road racing. I think it's a little gimmicky. I think the North Face is coming out with a carbon fiber plate. I haven't bought it yet or seen or tested it yet, but I think I don't think the benefit's going to be huge. Now, I don't know, like some ultra races that are, let's say 100K over oscillating hills, not big mountains, I could see a benefit there to a certain extent. And the ultra running world is just insane. Like you have people who do like this weekend, the 100K world record attempt, but then like track races. But anyway, so yeah, as far as trail carbon fiber plate shoes, I'm a little I'm not sold yet. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I think I feel the same about it. It's I'm not quite sure what to expect or what to think of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, gosh. I mean, shout out to Innovate, a company from your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah.
Is that I use their Innovate X Talon G210 in the Pikes Peak Marathon. It's kind of like a cross country spike, and I won the Pikes Peak Marathon in that trail shoe. So it's a very aggressive, like big lugs on the bottom, and just to dig into the mountain. But that definitely doesn't have any sort of plate inside the midsole.
And also wondering, speaking about the race kind of over there, are there any races that you've you've seen in the UK that appeal to something you might want to do in the future?
And you road or trail or both or?
Either, yeah.
Yeah, either. I mean, gosh, I as far as trail goes, the oh man, the Skyline over is in Scotland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely on my radar. I don't think I'll do it this year because so far, actually, I've got my New York City Marathon shirt on. I plan to do New York City again this fall. Of course, I have to race London someday. I don't know when. I don't know when that'll happen, but I'm actually tomorrow's vlog is all about future races. And I'm kind of trying to figure out, with so many races being canceled or postponed, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to race this spring. But I'd love to do a half marathon in the UK at some point. So if you guys have any ideas, you got to let me know. A fast half marathon on the roads.
Racing in the UK non-existent. No, not quite yet. No, racing in the UK at the minute are non-existent, so it might be a while before we can suggest any races there. Literally, cancellation after cancellation. We haven't really had a race since I haven't raced since October or November. Yeah. So yeah, it's not fun. And speaking of sort of, especially this difficult last year, and a lot of people have asked this: how do you stay so positive? And also, the only person I've seen more positive than you is probably your children and true love. So how do they all stay so positive as well?
Oh man, that's a good question. Oh goodness. Well, I mean, I was talking with some other people about running and like what running means to me and why I run. And like, I think it's the little goals that we have as runners, like waking up, like this past training block, getting ready for Naples. I never in my life have enjoyed running in the wintertime when it's cold out and freezing at, let's say, 5 a.m. But this past training block, I ran a lot. Like my volume was very high. And so in order to get all the miles in, I had to double quite a bit. So I was running at 5 a.m. a lot, probably at least 3 days a week. And so I think as far as the positivity goes, like as runners, we have the benefit of setting these little goals every day. And if you can accomplish those little goals, those little goals add up to big goals, like, setting a new PR in the half marathon. And it sounds a little selfish, but it's fun to set a goal and then reach that goal. And it's like, this world is so crazy around us, so many issues out there and challenges. If we can control something small in our own personal lives, like individual goals, that's something that I think we runners, that a lot of other people in the world don't have. They don't get that. They don't have that in their life, where it's like every day you can set a goal, and it doesn't have to be run 10 miles. It could be run 2 miles. So that's where it's just, I love little challenges. And I think that's where it's like that daily purpose that we get as runners that a lot of people just don't experience. So anyway, that's where it comes from, I would say.
No, that's definitely fair enough. I think as a runner, especially up in the mileage over the last year, and a lot of it solo because of the current situation with the pandemic, it's been kind of helpful to progress from, say, if I've done a really tough session or a really long session, and it's been helpful to progress from that and thinking, if I got through it that day, I can get through this 13-mile run today. Like, I've done it before, I can do it again. And I think sort of trying to build on sort of experiences you've had definitely sort of help, like in the future and as you progress mileage and stuff like that. And one of the videos I saw of you, and I was like, how are you doing this? It was in very, very snowy conditions, and I was just like, how are you this cheerful after you've just ran? I think it was a long run, and it was in really thick snow. I was like, how are you this happy after you've just finished this run? It doesn't make sense to me, but I guess that's just experience of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh man. And I think it's I think you just get I was talking to another guy. Like, if you can get back from a run by 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. and you put in 15 miles or 20 miles or whatever, and then you still have to, maybe you have to go to work, or but you feel like you can accomplish anything if you are self-disciplined enough to go to bed early, to wake up early, to get the run in. And it's like you're like the king of the world, because it's like, shoot, I can do anything now. I just ran 15 miles before everybody else even ate breakfast. So anyway, that's it. Kind of, again, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say selfish mentality, but it's like, I can do this. And yeah, so it's fun. I think ultra running and marathon, like longer distance running, kind of teaches you a little bit about enjoying the pain a little bit, where you not enjoy, but like you're not afraid of the pain. So yeah, you guys know that.
Yeah, that's one thing. Me and Alfie have spoken about that a lot, because we both, well, I mean, I used to train completely by myself, and Alfie sometimes does some sessions by myself. It's like learning that kind of pain barrier. It makes it so much easier in a race, because I guess coming from those sort of like the mountain races, I'm not sure if enough people appreciate how brutal it is. Sure. Like heading up there and then either coming back down or doing these long trail races. I guess it'll be great for a half marathon, because you can kind of go, hey, I've gone deeper than these guys. I've done tougher and longer and harder things, and it's that, I guess that's a massive plus, doing sort of half marathons and stuff coming from that world.
Yeah. No, Naples. I mean, I wasn't nervous at all. I wish I would have been able to break into the 104s, but I definitely was very confident on the starting line. Like, I know I can hold a hard pace for most of the race. Maybe not the whole way, but at least most of the race, just based on the workouts I had done and the experience of the training block leading into it. So, yeah, it is a mental game, as you guys know. Like, it's building, but it doesn't just happen with a snap of the finger. It's a long time to develop that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were saying, sort of planning your race and stuff, it might be quite early to ask, given that you've only kind of just raced Naples. But what do you think that next target could potentially be?
Yeah. So I averaged 5-minute miles in Naples. So my goal, really, I'd love to be at like 4:52, 4:53 a mile. So, it's 7 to 8 seconds, which now this is where it gets really fun as a runner, but also I coach myself. Now I get to tinker. And this is where I say in the vlog, like, I like to be that mad scientist where you get to experiment. And this is kind of why, this is why I don't have a coach, is I like to coach myself and figure out, okay, now I have this baseline to work with, and how can I take that next step and drop, 7 to 8, which is no joke, 7 to 8 seconds a mile is definitely no joke. And I don't know if I can do it. I don't know, but it's fun to try and figure out, okay, how can I go down to 4:52, 4:53 a mile? And I don't have the answer yet. And I need to think about what is the next training block going to look like. But ultimately, that is the goal. And ultimately, I want to, race a really fast, well, my, marathon PR is 2:23 right now, which was in Amsterdam in 2019, where I went out in 1:06:53, way too fast, and blew up the last. It was but here's the crazy. But it was my first marathon. So it's like all about teaching yourself how to pace better. Like, it's just, coming from the mountains to road racing, it's all about that pacing, which I'm still, kind of figuring out a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess people who haven't done marathons can't fully understand it. I know that my dad ran a few halves and like 2 marathons in his time, and he even when he did his first half marathon, he'd done a 10-mile race in somewhere around like 48 kind of low. And then a few weeks later, a half marathon pops up and he's like, well, it's 3 miles more. You know, how much harder can this be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he gets to mile 10 and a half and he's sat on the side of the road and it's like, right, ambulance somewhere, whatever, because it's one of those things people just don't realize how sort of like tough it is to put yourself through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a big, even just 3 miles, it does make a big difference.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. You learn that the hard way, which is always fun to hear.
Yeah.
That's good.
The best teacher is experience. That's it's always experience.
That's very true.
So
true. I'm conscious of time as it's 31 minutes past.
We can go a little bit more. I've got a if you guys maybe 10 more minutes.
That's great.
That's fine. We can transition over to some deeper questions if you want, if that's all right with you. Got quite a few of them. So
anything, you guys hit me with anything.
Okay, so these two are sort of just from curiosity, not quite the deepest ones yet, but if you could proportionally place a shoe as the greatest shoe of all time, so obviously now the future of shoes is a lot further on technology wise, but if you could put like a shoe as like the best shoe proportionally of all time, what would you say it would be?
And do you mean from the past?
Or it could be now, but if you'd compare it against the shoes out at that point in time as sort of a rating, if that makes sense.
Like what would I like to see the best shoe be?
Or what do you think is the best shoe like ever? Say for example, if a Streak came out in 2014, but it was so much better than all the other shoes around at that time, then that could proportionally be the best shoe ever, even though it's not technically the best shoe ever.
Oh man. Oh gosh. Wow. That is quite the question. I'm trying to rack my brain.
I couldn't answer it, so.
You couldn't?
No. It's fun asking questions you know you can't answer because it puts everyone on the spot.
I mean, it's crazy, but gosh, from a training perspective, it's now, here's the thing. Everybody's foot strike and gait cycle is different. And so, some people like a soft landing, some people like a firm landing. For me, I probably prefer, only because I don't know what it is, but I love running at high volume. I just love it. I love running 100-mile weeks, and therefore my legs oftentimes are a little beat up. And so I kind of like to baby my legs a little bit. So I'm just going to say, as far as a shoe that like the original Clifton is hard to argue against for me. I love the original Clifton and the OG. As far as a shoe that it just works so well for my foot strike, and it just the right amount of cushion for babying my legs. But anyway, I'll leave it there. We could probably go on and on, but that was a shoe that I really loved.
Yeah, I agree. The Clifton, I think 5 saved my entire running career because I had tendonitis for about 6 months. And as soon as I went in the Clifton, literally went, and I know I don't recommend this, but it literally went probably overnight or like in a few weeks, just from running a different shoe. So Clifton is very helpful.
Yep.
So on to those deeper questions now. Has there ever been a moment in running, or what is the moment where it sort of like changed your perspective on life? Like, have you ever had like sort of a moment where you've stepped back and just really just had a deep thought or anything like that?
Well, I would say that my life would not have been on the path that it's on now if I would not have taken the risk to try to walk on to the University of Colorado's cross country team. So I was not recruited out of high school. I wasn't fast enough. So I trained alone my freshman year of college, and then ended up walking on to the CU team, which, as you guys probably know, is one of the best in the United States. And Mark Wetmore, let me walk on. And if I would have not taken that risk, I would have, like so many that opened up so many other doors in life. It's unbelievable. So that would be a moment where it's like, wow, I'm really glad I took the risk to try to walk. Like, okay, so I was a 16:27 guy in high school. So that's fine. Like, it's a fine time, but it's not nearly fast enough to run at Division 1 level. So I trained alone. So anyway, that would probably be the moment, is that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah. I feel like a lot of people sort of in their running career, it's definitely either a teacher relationship where they've sort of taken them from school and like said, like, look, you need to do this. You're very talented, or it's always something along those lines at that younger career where you've had to make sort of a big decision. And it's obviously you look back and have seen it as a decision what literally would have changed your life completely, which I guess just running is a lifestyle, isn't it? So, I mean, we're both here on a running podcast talking to a running YouTuber. It's like, so, and the next deep question I have for you is, have you had any running / YouTube regrets?
Running / YouTube regrets. That's a great question. Running regrets. Going out too fast in the Amsterdam Marathon. No, I'm just kidding. Probably it's a regret that actually turned into a great benefit, is that I tried to run. I thought I was going to be an ultra marathon runner 3 or 4 years ago. So I went into a 100-mile race, and I actually dropped out at 50 miles for a couple of different reasons. But that was that's a regret that I dropped out. But it was a huge learning moment that taught me, wait a minute, maybe I need to rethink my strategy for my racing in my early 30s and mid 30s and save the ultra running for later. Like, when I'm old and slow. So that's maybe a little bit of a running regret. It was I'm really glad I tried it, because it taught me to just chill out and wait and try and still use the speed in my legs while I still have it. YouTube, so I've been doing the daily vlog for almost 5 years, and I love it. It's, you have to enjoy the process, or else it's, a lot of people ask if they should start a daily vlog, and I tell them no, because you have to it's really hard, but you have to understand your personality and to see if it fits with your own personal life. But it would have been very beneficial if I would have pivoted the daily vlog from life to running about a year earlier. So I did 2.5 years of daily vlogging, just filming all sorts of stuff, mountain stuff, life, work, family, everything. So then about 2.5 years ago, I pivoted to running, and that's when the channel started to grow. So that was I wish I should have done that earlier, but that's all right. I'm glad I did it when I did. As far as like, I didn't wait any longer.
You should have gone down that bike route. I was looking at some of your older videos to see when your views started taking off, and I saw like these 2 bike videos. So like, was it like a motorbike, and they got like 30,000 views.
Yes, I know, that was another thing. That's funny. That was another. That was back when I was just trying to figure out, what's it gonna look like, and eventually landed. I loved running, but I didn't realize there was such an audience on YouTube for running content, or else I probably would have done it earlier.
Yeah, and then the last 2 questions, if that's okay. The one I have to ask is, at the minute for me, it's listening to the Phil Knight book and like listening to the whole story behind Nike and stuff. But have you got any like big motivators at the minute, or like have in the past, what sort of keep you motivated?
Oh man. I'm not listening to any or reading any like running books right now. I do love that book, Shoe Dog, right?
Yeah.
That's a great book. I love history. I love studying history, and I've read a lot of history books. I read quite a few business books, just because I'm trying to figure out YouTube and figure out the business side of YouTube. But as far as my personal motivation, a lot of it, does come from the inside, and um, I am very competitive. I will say that much. Like, you know, I know like my talent level on the roads is decent, but I'm very excited to be very competitive on the trails and mountain running. You know, I have aspirations to qualify for the Olympic trials in the United States in the marathon. We'll see if I can do it. I don't know, but I'll try again for Paris 2024. So anyway, it's not a great answer because yeah, I just love it. Yeah, I am very competitive, but especially in mountain and trail running.
Yeah, yeah, competitiveness, definitely. You need to have that competitive edge, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it really does help.
Yeah. Alfie, if you're looking for the truthful story behind Nike, read Swoosh.
Yeah, I've heard it's slightly blurred, the book.
Scathing. It's scathing. Okay. But it's interesting to hear both sides of the story of how certain people think Nike became the top dog and how other people think Nike became the top dog. So it's always interesting reading both sides of it. But
yeah, it's quite a drama-filled book, that.
Yeah, really good book. Really good book.
I'll have to. I don't think I've read that one. I'll have to read that one too.
Yeah,
Swoosh is good. I guess it's just the sort of that brutal side of how, I mean, Nike being the biggest corporation, it's like you don't become that as big as you are making everyone smile and happy.
Definitely not.
So it was no surprise that it was a relatively scathing book, but it's a good one. It's interesting one.
And the last question I have to end in this. Someone asked this in the followers. So there's obviously butter in my bread, but what are some of your other favorite condiments to have on bread or toast?
Oh, I'm so sorry. That first part of the question.
Sorry, my AirPods have just cut out. That's why. Sorry.
No, I can hear you now.
Now, can you hear me again?
Yeah.
So there's obviously butter in my bread. But what other favorite condiments do you have that you put on bread and toast?
That's awesome. So for those that don't know that are listening, I have a lot of people I don't know, maybe call them Sethisms or things that I say like butter my bread and the studio and all these things. Butter my bread, just so you know, everybody. It's just something that True Love and I started saying when something good happens in life. Like, who doesn't like extra butter on their bread? So it's like, if you get a PR, if you do good in a race or a workout, it's like, come on, let's butter the bread now. This is a good thing that happened. So that's kind of where it started. And I mean, is there anything else to put on bread except butter? No, I don't do this, but I put I'm a big hot sauce guy, so I put hot sauce on my popcorn. I know that's a little crazy. But as far as bread goes, I don't know. What is the butter? It's almost like a pumpkin butter or something like that. I don't even know.
Ooh.
It's very good. It's got like sugar. There's a lot of sugar in it. Anyway, that would probably be another one.
It sounds good.
So I'm a big yeah, that would be my answer there. But I appreciate you bringing up the butter my bread.
Yeah, I had to ask about it, and I've just realised I've been on this whole podcast without my microphone plugged in, which is a nightmare. But I guess you've got to sort of live with it. At least the audio. At least you can hear me. I guess that's the main thing.
I can hear you. Hopefully, I bet it turns out. I'm recording on my end as well, so just keep me posted.
Okay, yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. And obviously, we don't want to keep too much of your time because we have gone over the time we originally planned. So I just want to say a big thank you for obviously giving your time, as well as giving other people your time as well at the minute, because I know you're doing podcasts and etc. So yeah. I'd just like to thank you, and also thank you from everyone in the running community for what you're doing and the videos you're posting, because no one else really does that, what you're doing at the minute as well. So,
oh man, I appreciate it. We're all just fighting and trying to get through these crazy times together and hopefully get back to racing as soon as possible. And I think, I don't know, it might take a little bit more, but I think by hopefully in the next 3 or 4 months, we start to see races come back. So we'll just keep fighting together. We have a great sport that we get to participate in, and good things ahead I do believe, for everybody. So thanks for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure. It's been our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you, guys.